Hello, and thank you for watching our case study on digital inkjet optimization. My name is Tyler Thompson, and I have been in the industry since graduating from Clemson University's Graphic Communications program in 2012. I started my career with ESCO after university, as well as earned my master's degree in computer information systems from Denver University. I've been with Tilia Labs since 2018, and I am the Global Director of Solutions. I'm based in Charleston, South Carolina, and I can be reached at tyler@tilialabs.com. The case study agenda will start with a quick overview of the problem and the solution. I'll then introduce Tilia Labs and introduce our customer who has helped us by providing audio interviews that you'll see and hear throughout the presentation. And then I'll dive into the challenge the customer was facing and the solutions that we provided to address these challenges. So our client came with us with two main challenges. How do I maximize a larger sheet size? And how do I reduce time and become more efficient in prepress?
Since we bought the company in 2012, we've known we have to automate. And we've been trying and we've been taking different routes. And sometimes we've stepped left when we should have stepped right. But, with Phoenix, it was the first real step forward towards our automation goals. We had a different means of layout for every device we used. If it's in our small format or a large format, there's a different means of laying it out. If it was a mailer, a direct mail piece, or a static piece, we would choose two different means to impose it. When we were looking at Phoenix, were we even thinking about, hey, we want to bring together our wide format layouts and our small format layouts and kill two birds with one stone? We weren't even thinking about that until you guys showed us that we could do that.
That was Michael Oakes, a partner and VP of production at Citicom. Mike's biggest challenges are prepress imposition for a larger sheet size, automation, and really a streamlined way to manage impositioning for the multitude of different printing equipment that Citicom faces. The solution that we presented addressed both of these challenges by implementing an artificially intelligent imposition and planning software called Tilia Phoenix. Tilia Phoenix is capable of deriving the most cost-effective print layout using AI simulations, essentially eliminating the need for any prepress impositioning done by a human. So you can see at the top, we've got a group of jobs that need to be imposed. Those jobs can be imposed on a larger sheet, can go digital, it can go small format on a 19 by 13 inch sheet, or could potentially go offset on a 40-inch sheet. Tilia Labs is a software company developing technology-forward solutions that really have measurable financial impacts for our customers. And we do this by delivering our solutions in a modern, easy-to-use software experience. And user experience is one of our core values, so everything that we develop is designed with the user experience in mind. So a little bit about us. We were founded in 2012 by our CEO, Sagan Day Young, and our CTO, Scott Moore. We're an award-winning software company, and we specialize in print and packaging software. We're a global company, and we have distribution in over 42 countries. And year to date, we have just over 600 licenses sold that are in production today. So why did we start the company? Well, Sagan realized, our CEO, that there was a need really to develop a modern tool for print imposition. When we looked around, there really wasn't a good tool that goes beyond the traditional step and repeat, number around and number of cross. And there really wasn't one in the industry that leveraged new technologies like artificial intelligence. And there certainly wasn't, a good software package that offered an open kind of API-driven infrastructure to help them make, smarter decisions around production planning. You heard from Mike at Citicom. Citicom is a print shop, and Citicom's really built on relationships. They're based out of Columbus, Ohio, and they were founded in 1985. And they operate as a one-stop shop for over 3,000 active customers. They deliver across a pretty large array of customers in industries from healthcare to retail up in Columbus, Ohio. Citicom is a family-run business, and they're in their second generation of ownership. And Citicom prides itself on delivering high-quality print products on time and on budget so that their customers can focus on their business and not focus on their print needs. So if we take a look at Citicom, because they service such a diverse, customer base, Citicom operates both large format flatbed printers for their signage type work and retail work, as well as smaller format 19 by 13 inch digital printers for their traditional commercial business card brochure type work. And then Citicom recently invested in a larger B2 press in the KM-1, which is a digital press to handle more throughput and really kind of drive down their ink costs with the inkjet technology that the Konica Minolta provides.
We see inkjet as the future. There's no doubt in our minds that everyone's going to be running inkjet sooner or later. The KM-1 offered more control over our ink costs and our substrate costs, and we were always trying to go bigger. The more real estate we have, the more work we can get on the sheet and benefit from that.
After listening to Mike, you may be asking yourself, well, what is Citicom's challenge? Sounds like they just purchased a new KM-1. They've now increased their throughput in print production. What's the issue here? Well, what happened was with this larger sheet size of the KM-1 and the faster throughput capabilities, Citicom started to realize that the workflow really became the challenge that they needed to address. So prior to KM-1's larger sheet size, Citicom was dependent on the fiery rip doing their impositioning of their jobs at press. And for the 13 by 19 inch sheet size, this really wasn't an issue because, in most cases, you would take a job and do your traditional step and repeat, fill up your 19 by 13 inch sheet with one job, and then you're off and running. But with this larger sheet size, Citicom, found themselves manually imposing jobs in Illustrator in order to run multiple jobs on the same sheet because they had this additional real estate from the B2 sheet size that the KM-1 provided. And the manual prepress, this process of human imposing inside of Illustrator quickly became the bottleneck in the process. So although they had an extremely fast and more efficient printer with the KM-1, really the problem was feeding the beast. And how do we impose these orders to keep that KM-1 running in an efficient manner? So we asked Mike about these challenges, and here's what he said.
Talking with Konica Minolta, they were interested in what we were doing for imposition. So we knew we needed something. We were also, looking at our pre-press and how they were getting bogged down with the amount of work. We were losing valuable production time because jobs would sit in pre-press. And they were kicking butt, man. They were pushing jobs out as fast as they could, but you get to a point where one person can only do so much.
Another challenge for Citicom was the multiple imposition tools that were required for their different printing processes. So their wide format work required the Zoom Cut Center, their small format department was using Fire-E, and then the work that was going on the new KM-1 was being imposed in Adobe Illustrator manually. And each operator in prepress was responsible for about 50 jobs per week. So when operators are having to make these manual decisions about where and how layouts should be created, it became a huge bottleneck, not just in the manual labor, but also in trying to manage and facilitate, multiple applications depending on which department the job and the work is being printed in. So if we take a look at and just kind of simulate what this looks like, we'll start with a very simple scenario here where we have, one SKU or one order that needs to be printed for a quantity of 400. And this process is pretty simple for someone in prepress or layout. You've got your quantity of 400, you've got a 19 by 13 inch sheet, and your postcard or business card or whatever it is 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches, to make the math easy. So if we take a look at how we would impose this, it's simple to do on the Fiery or right in front of the press, right? We just can calculate how many across, how many up and down, and get an approximate, number of sheets and number up that we're going to get on that 19 by 13 inch sheet. The problem is, what happens when we now suddenly have this larger sheet size? So we've purchased the KM-1, and now we're moving from a 19 by 13 upwards to, a B2 press sheet. So we've got a 20 by 29 inch sheet. We could say, well, in order to facilitate or accomplish the quantity of 400, we still are going to get 8 up on a sheet, potentially, or we could fill up the sheet. But now we've got this leftover space that we could either add more work to, can pull in another job at this point. So if we add another job, in most cases, this is what Citicom's doing, right? Now that we've got more real estate, this gives us an opportunity to streamline our processes, add more jobs onto a sheet to make our processes more efficient, both in print and finishing. I could take this quantity of 300 and this quantity of 500, put one 3 up, put one 5 up, and bam, now we've maximized our material potentially. But this problem becomes even more complex and exacerbated when we're dealing with hundreds of different files and hundreds of different orders. So if we look at Citicom and their challenges, this is an example of a CSV file that they're getting from one of their retail customers. And it's not uncommon for a retail store to submit an order to Citicom with, upwards of 150 items, with quantities ranging anywhere from, signage work where they may need 1 or 4 of them, upwards to, 5,000 with, postcards or mailings or any type of retail signage that's being delivered across the US. So for these retail programs, Citicom is being faced with a multitude of files and orders, a number of different substrates. Preparing this job in prepress is taking upwards of 16 hours to do the layout work. The majority of this was being done manually by Citicom because there really wasn't a solution out there to digest this information, evaluate this information, and impose these orders.
There were 150 different files, 12 different substrates, and we would set all that stuff up manually. So it would literally take, well, back in the day, probably 2 full days of just layout work to get that ready to produce.
Now that we've reviewed Citicom's primary challenges, let's take a look at their overall objectives for this project. Again, circling back to the beginning of the presentation, the main objectives were pretty simple. How do we automate the layout preparation? How do we simplify the process and eliminate the multitude of different softwares we're using? And how do we manage additional orders to feed the new KM-1 digital press without adding a significant amount of headcount?
We don't want to hire more pre-press people, okay? And I'm trying to make everything in my company easier so that our quality comes out higher. We know we're going to have problems in 5 years if we're not changing the way we do business, okay?
So then we asked Michael about his investigation to solve these challenges. Let's have a listen.
Conoco was offering another imposition program, but what it did more than anything is it told us, hey, we need to be prepared for this B2 sheet size, So we knew we needed something. We looked at Ultimate ImpoStrip, Quite Impose. We have a great partnership with DFI. We run their PACE MIS system. So we took a look at metrics, and we had looked at metrics in the past, and we were talking with them. They saw the bigger picture. You could tell that they want to develop a lot of great things for metrics, but it just wasn't there yet. And then I think I came across the Phoenix video on YouTube, and I watched it. And at first I was like, this has to be bogus. Like there's no there's no way that this program works this fast and you're getting these results in seconds.
So as we heard from Mike, the need for a dynamic template-free solution to impose was really impossible to find. Furthermore, Phoenix provided capabilities out of the box, as well as provided Citicom the ability to streamline and automate the impositioning via hot folders to further achieve their goal of production automation. Tilia Phoenix is the industry's first AI-driven imposition and planning solution. The whole concept around Phoenix is simple. We want to help human planners, and we develop the product in a way that allows a human planner or someone in positioning or prepress to utilize the software to help them make decisions faster. And we do it simply by training Phoenix's AI brain or algorithm by loading in your production equipment, your stocks, your speeds, the cost of your stocks, the cost of running your equipment. And once we have this information, we click go. So we can see in the video, it's a quick glimpse of Phoenix. You can see with this AI-assisted planning and imposition, Tilia Phoenix can quickly evaluate hundreds and thousands of different ways of dynamically imposing jobs on various substrates, on various sheet sizes. You can see at the bottom right there, once we click go, in this case, we've got 13 orders with different quantities. And within about 30 seconds there, Phoenix is evaluating and generating over 1,500 different results. So Phoenix not only imposes the orders dynamically, it also continues to search for the most cost-effective way to impose your orders by trying different combinations of orders on the same sheet, as well as looking at various different sheet sizes instantaneously to maximize your costs and maximize your production run. After Phoenix goes through its iterations and quickly imposes the orders with the AI-driven planning algorithm, Phoenix also creates this production report, which is used for operators to help track and manage their jobs as they're being printed and produced.
Pretty much blew us away that you could throw all these different files, stocks, quantities at the program, and within seconds you're getting hundreds, thousands of different layout options, and that was huge. And that's when we weren't even thinking about it at the time, but that's when it opened our mind to, wait a second, we can run our wide format and our small format and our die sub all from the same program, and that just blew us away.
Phoenix's user experience and interface design is really our core value here at Tilia Labs. Because of this, the implementation process of Phoenix is really simple. We have 2 online training sessions, and that's where we learn how to import our orders, how to set up our presses and settings of our presses and costing of our presses and stocks. And that's typically all really that's needed and required to start using Phoenix in production. If we take a look at Citicom's flowchart, you can see that Phoenix was able to replace 3 applications in prepress and became the imposition tool of choice for all of the print departments, both wide format, large format, and the small format. We asked Mike over at Citicom, the VP of production, about their implementation process. Let's listen to what he said.
2 days of training and we were up and running. I don't know, Tyler, was it even 2 days? It seemed like a day. Implementation was very fast. I mean, we were using it within the first day that it was installed because it's that simple. Again, the program does everything for you. It does everything you want it to do. It was instant gratification.
So taking a look at the results, what was taking Citicom upwards of 16 hours to impose and prepare for layout is now down to 20 minutes. And those 20 minutes are really spent in Excel structuring their data to properly import into Phoenix. Furthermore, Citicom was able to go from 3 softwares down to just 1 software in prepress and impositioning, simplifying their process, as well as eliminating the need for a human to impose the orders manually. And these results led to a 175% increase in job throughput for Citicom. Citicom is now achieving unimaginable throughput with implementing AI-driven imposition and planning using Tilia Phoenix. It's really amazing to see Citicom increase their number of jobs by 175%. And at the same time, they really only increased, as you can see on the chart there, the number of prepress people from 4 people to 5 people. Tilia Phoenix has enabled a 140% increase in the number of jobs per operator with exponential growth potential without adding or needing to add headcount.
We hired 10 employees since purchasing the KM-1 and Tilia Phoenix last year, just with the amount of work that we've been pushing through the shop. We're processing over 2,000 different jobs a month. That's grown substantially. I haven't gone back and looked at it, but I'm pretty sure we were talking about doing 1,000 jobs a month about a year and a half ago. It's allowed us to gang up jobs. So we're running on a single sheet. We can be running, anywhere from 2 to 7 different jobs, depending on what they are. So where we used to run business cards, one up on a sheet on a little 13 by 19, we're now able to get, we could get 55 different orders up on a B2 sheet. That's where we've been able to see our job tickets jump so much, because it's not taking really any additional time to produce them. It's all coming off on the same sheet.
On behalf of Tilia Labs, we would like to thank NAPCO and all of those who helped in their efforts to put this Inkjet Summit event on under these strange circumstances. Thank you for listening. I hope you were able to pull something out of this presentation. And if anything is interesting or you'd like to reach out or learn more, please visit us at tilialabs.com. Thanks.